Hi, I'm Alan Kukodi. I lecture in the history department at Rhodes. I teach environmental history. I've been here for 11 years. I got interested in knives because I collect katana. I got into kind of the way katana were made and the different kinds of steel and the different patterns on the steel. So I became interested as much in the technical thing of sword making as in the martial arts aspect, and that led me into thinking, well, why don't I try and make my own katana? And I discovered, as countless knife makers have discovered before me, that you don't start your knife making career by making a katana. You kind of finish your knife making career by making a katana because they're incredibly difficult to make. You start off by selecting your steel. The best steel that's available in South Africa most of the time is 560. If you're not making patterned steel, you would use 560. If you're making patterned steel, you would also use 560, but you need to add different steels to it. To forge it, you have to get your forge up to temperature. So I use a gas forge. Light your forge, you let the forge get up to temperature, which takes, it's kind of just under, it's about 1700 degrees centigrade. It takes about half an hour to get up to temperature. You put your blade in until it gets red hot. You then take it out and hammer it on an anvil. You first of all get a kind of very rough shape with a point. In an ideal world, you completely forge the point with a hammer. You then make the edge of the blade, and you then make the taper of the blade, because the blades aren't completely flat, they taper down towards the point. So you then hammer the taper in. You end up with a knife at that stage that's about 80% of what you want it to be. You then rough grind it, so you kind of tidy it up. You do it with sanding belts rather than with a grinder. You get a very rough blade, which you then it's called normalizing 3 times. You heat it up till it's not magnetic 3 times. You then ready to temper the blade or to harden the blade. To temper it, you heat it up again to non-magnetic. And then you plunge it into a tempering solution. Now, it depends on the steel, what kind of solution you use. The one I use for the 560 steel is 2 parts of engine oil to 1 part of gearbox oil to 1 part of diesel. So it's quite a flammable mixture. You're always worried that it's going to go on fire. That you have in a tray. You have a kind of jig, a metal contraption that will hold the blade, because you want to differentially harden the blade. You don't want the blade to be of equal hardness. You want the bottom around cutting edge to be harder than the spine, so that the blade can bend without cracking. You plunge the blade very fast into the fluid to as deep as you want the temper line to be. You watch it, and when the back of the knife cools down to a black color from the red color, you then take it off that jig and you immerse the whole blade in the oil. You leave it there usually for a couple of minutes, basically until it's kind of cooled down a bit. You take it out, you clean it off, and you put it in an oven at 180 degrees for 2 hours. You can then either deep freeze it, or you can just let it air cool. So then you've got a blade that's ready to be finely polished, shaped, sharpened, have the handles put on, do all the completion of the blade. There's 2 kinds of a tang is the back part, the part of the knife that fits in a handle. There's 2 types. There's a hidden tang, in which case you shape your handle and you carve out where the tang is going to go. But if it's not a hidden tang, if it's an exposed tang handle, you shape the handle to fit around the tang. It's a hidden tang. You always start with the handle in two pieces. After having carved out the tang or the shape of the tang, I use some kind of sanding device. It depends on what I want to do. You've got pins running through to hold everything together. So you've got holes through the tang. You've got holes in the handle, and obviously they all have to line up and the pins have to fit through. You put epoxy, which is a glue consisting of two parts. You put epoxy on both sides of the handle, you squash it together, you put the pins in, and you then clamp it with a clamp until the epoxy dries. And you end up with a complete blade, yes.